Welcome to the Exploring the Restoration channel. Today we will be concentrating on the subject of Book of Mormon geography. My name is Ed Goble, and I participated in the authoring of a book in 2002 called This Land, Zarahemla and the Nephite Nation. I co-authored this book with Wayne May. In 2004, I changed my mind in terms of Book of Mormon geography, and I found that there was a statement of Joseph Smith that contradicted the Heartland theory. And all of the criteria that we used to make placements for the Heartland theory were kind of tenuous in the first place, all except for Cumorah in New York, in my opinion. The statement that I'm referring to that made me change my mind is a statement from Joseph Smith. This statement is recorded in the Levi Hancock Journal during the time that Zion's Camp was going through Illinois. And the statement is a clear quotation from Joseph Smith, where he said that the land of desolation is there in that area, or in other words, that area is part of the land of desolation. And they, like I say, they were in Illinois, and he said that the land of this was the land of desolation. He said an Onondagas was king, and that white Lamanite that they had dug up in that mound was a warrior under this king Onondagas. This was the Nephite nation's northern domain. The reason being is because all Book of Mormon geographers that have determined the placement of the lands in relation to one another place the land of Zarahemla in the north. It was the most northerly portion of the Nephite lands. And because the land of desolation extended all the way from Cumorah down into the narrow neck of land, this means that if Illinois is part of the land of desolation, this necessarily pushes the narrow neck of land southward of Illinois. The very first landmark that we come to going southward from Illinois is Tehuantepec, Mexico. In my opinion, Tehuantepec, Mexico is the best placement for the narrow neck of land, is because in the Book of Mormon, the heartland of the urban society of the Jaredites was right on the narrow neck of land. Archaeologically speaking, the Olmec civilization, their heartland or urban society was right on the narrow neck of land there of Tehuantepec. To me, this makes the Olmecs to be the Jaredites. Many Mesoamerican scholars share this opinion. Then also in the land of Mesoamerica, there are two potential rivers that could be the Sidon. They both run northward. The problem with the one that's furthest to the west is that, so it's called the Grijalva, and it's not in the domain of the Maya. It's in the domain of other Mesoamerican societies. Anciently, the Maya came from the south in Guatemala, in a highland area, and they made their way down the Usumacinta River basin to populate that area. This is perfect for the movement of the Nephites, because the movement of the Nephites in the Book of Mormon places them in a highland area in the land of Nephi, in their land of first inheritance. And when they went to the land of Zarahemla, they went down into Zarahemla. This is why the Usumacinta River is the best candidate for the Sidon River. As for Cumorah, um, many Mesoamericanist scholars try to do away with the idea of Cumorah being in New York, and they try to make it seem like Cumorah in New York is not a good candidate. They came up with a bunch of criteria to try to prove that this is not the case. I have studied those criteria, and I'm 100% certain that they are almost, I don't even think any of them really stand up as any particular real problem for the New York Cumorah when they're put under scrutiny. This means that you know there's no reason that we can't consider the New York Cumorah to be a candidate for the place where the Nephites and the Jaredites were destroyed. One consideration is that in Ohio and Illinois, precisely in the area where Joseph Smith was stating was part of the land of desolation, um, in the archaeologically speaking, the time period of the Hopewell and the Adena cultures are those that match up with the Book of Mormon time period in that era. In Illinois and Ohio, there are many forts and fortifications and um, um, ceremonial centers, and you could call them cities if you wanted to, but they're just simply not as urban as the Mesoamerican societies. Um, so if we're looking for a place where the Nephites fled towards the end of their, when they were fleeing northward, these centers were perfect in terms of being a place where someone could hold, or a group of people could hold out for some time. Um, and the key point here is that New York is right in the backyard of these areas, okay, especially the Ohio area. Um, and so you can think of a scenario where the Nephites were probably inhabiting this area in their northern domain, and they just realized that they couldn't hold out there any longer. And so instead of being besieged there anymore, they decided to go gather in New York at Cumorah. They picked a place that was perfect in terms of, you know, strategically perfect, not just because it was a repository of records, but because there was a natural, um, so there was a natural barrier to the north of Lake Ontario or Repliancum. Um, so it's the perfect place where a large group of people could congregate and only have to deal with their enemy on three sides. They didn't have to deal with them because they from that fourth side because they were up against the lake. So, and of course, the lake gives them a source of fresh water. So, from so many points of view, it was the perfect. Um, it was a perfect place for them to go to gather for that last battle. So um, let's go to our summary here. The Heartland theory is unreliable because of that statement that I brought up. Everything that I had used and everyone else that tries to place everything in the area of the United States, trying to place Zarahemla in the Midwest, they're basing it all on unreliable information. Also, the hemispherical model is wrong because the best evidence places the Nephites in Mesoamerica in terms of where their urban society was. So the Mesoamerican theory is mostly right in terms of the land southward where Zarahemla was and where Bountiful was and where the land of Nephi was. However, the Nephites were in North America because it was an extension to their lands. They moved northward later in their history, and they occupied these areas such as Ohio and Illinois because those were, those key areas where most of their fortifications and cities in the north were. But those cities are definitely not on the same urban scale as the cities in the south in Mesoamerica. And the key to knowing that this is the case is because the only key statement of Joseph Smith places the land of desolation in the United States. And like I say, because Cumorah was in the backyard of these centers in Illinois and Ohio, um, the New York Cumorah, the traditional spot, is the perfect place for where the Nephites would have been destroyed. Thank you.